To this now, a public health crisis is unfolding at Buffalo City wastewater treatment plants. Some are in a state of disrepair, and untreated sewage is now spilling into the city's main water source, putting thousands of lives at risk. Now, Go Express, this is an organization, was the first to expose the crisis. A water expert demonstrated to Newzroom Afrika that apart from the sewage, the water also contains several other contaminants.
What this thing will do, it will actually show you what's inside that's not supposed to be in there. I'll put this here so that we know that this goes with this. I'll switch it on. So there's a lot of acid mine drainage that is being pumped into SA's water sources. And that, in actual sense, causes cancer, because you have got a lot of uranium inside the tap water. Then that causes a lot of cancer in the lives of people. So there's a lot of hormone pills, there's a lot of there's unmetabolized birth control medication pills inside the water that we drink. So that being said, it's a lot of things that we can't say. Some of them we are not even aware what are those things. But there's a lot of things inside the tap water that that are getting us sick in actual sense. You know?
And now I'm also seeing the water is now starting, the top part of this water coming up, rising. I'm seeing brown. What does that signal when this brown?
So that is 25% of what we flush in our bathrooms.
Sewage?
Correct. So with no current engineering solution, we are down to recycling any water that is being used. In the water that you bath with, the water that you flush in your bathroom, the water that runs down the sink, that water comes back to the tap water that we drink.
Well, let's stay with that water expert who also says boiling the water does not improve its quality.
When you boil the water, you're only killing the germs and the bacteria. You're not even close to taking the uranium out of the water. You're not even close to taking the sewage out of the water, and you're not even close to taking all the biological pollutants out of the water. So boiling the water only kills the germs and the bacteria. Hence why when you cook with tap water, say your pot, the white layer is going to be there. The white foam is still going to be in your water. That's because the water, you're provoking everything that's in the water. You're just killing the germs and the bacteria by boiling the water. They will tell you to, after putting those in, jig or something like that, you have to wait for them. You have to let the water wait for some time. But that doesn't mean it's not there. It's still there. So that is why we don't believe in putting all those detergents in the water, because you're only provoking the water, and then you're going to make your body worse and worse. That's why we get sick, and it never stops.
Staying with this story, a local journalist details the history of the problem.
What we found out is that there is no actually work being done in our treatment plants. People are just, in fact, the Buffalo City Metro employees are only just pouring chlorine into these pools that you can see right here. And as you can see, that there's other pools that are meant to be processing the water, which has got the sewage. But that work is not being done because there's no infrastructure actually that is here. Everything has been destroyed, it has been stolen, vandalized, and there's actually no word from the municipality to tell us as the media what are they doing about this.
All right, let's get more reaction now to this particular discovery, very worrying indeed. Professor Khangwelo Musetscho is the principal environmental scientist at the Naledi Environmental Consultants. Good evening to you, Professor, and thank you for your time. When you listen to what has been detailed in that report with the expert and indeed the journalist talking to our own journalist, what comes to mind? How deep is the crisis there?
Good evening, Koli, and all your viewers. Thank you for having me. Koli, I wish I had good news to tell, different from what we've just heard now. Unfortunately, I do not come bearing such good news. I would like to confirm almost everything that they have been saying, because this is what we have been observing over time, unfortunately.
And as you correctly say, experts such as yourself have been saying that a crisis is upon us when it comes to South Africa's water sources. Why are things left to where we are now?
Unfortunately, I can point to a whole lot of reasons why we are where we are currently. Perhaps let me just identify a few of those. But in the main, let me say that it's not like we do not have the expertise in the country. It's not like we do not have regulations or policies in place to deal with the issues that we are talking about. Unfortunately, it boils down to how we implement some of the policy provisions that we have in the country, how we implement provisions that are made, for example, in terms of the National Water Act and in terms of the green drop assessment programs that we've put together as a country. It is also not because the Department of Water and Sanitation is not doing enough in terms of following up with municipalities that are in the main areas where some of these things are happening. So I would shorten it by saying that we have policies, we have regulations, we have programs, we've got initiatives. Unfortunately, when it comes to implementation, we are far from it.
Wow. This may be a bit of a stretch, but I'm going to ask it anyway, Professor. We have heard that some of the agents found in that water, you've got acid mine drainage, which clearly is spilling into that. You also have uranium, and the expert there saying that this is cancer causing. You have hormonal pills that are also found to be part of this water source. Is it unthinkable? Yes. Is it unthinkable that people who have since developed cancer could possibly sue the state because they could claim that their cancer may have been caused by the water they've been consuming? Is it unthinkable?
It is not unthinkable. And I must hasten to say that there is still even more challenges that we are identifying as the scientific community. And we refer to some of these things as emerging pollutants that we are finding in our water, emerging from wastewater or untreated sewage areas. Unfortunately, like I said in the beginning, I wish I had good news for you. Unfortunately, I do not have. It is not unthinkable at all. But what I must emphasize, though, is that such claims, or when people intend to sue the government for some of these things, it must purely be based on science. We should not generally just say, I'm sick because of this wastewater, but it must be based on science. There must be specific assessments that are conducted to prove indeed that such is the case, but it is not unthinkable at all.
Finally, Professor, we've got to keep a sense of hope here. Is there still a way to clean our water sources? Do we still have hope?
Yes, we do. If I were to take you to reports and science that we are able to go through, it is not all the wastewater treatment works or plants that we have in the country that are dysfunctional. There are pockets of excellence elsewhere. And if we were to learn from those that are doing it right, we are able to implement it across the country. Public Protector, the Department of Water and Sanitation have had programs where they investigate some of these things. And unfortunately, it boils down to serious governance issues, how we budget for some of the infrastructure that is aging, how we deal with vandalism of some of this infrastructure. At some point, people were complaining about load shedding leading to some of these wastewater treatment plants not functioning properly. So if there is no load shedding at the moment, If we deal with vandalism as a society, wherever it happens as a community, and we deal with such, and if we are able to hold municipal officials accountable where things like this happen, where instead of using the necessary budgets that are allocated for maintenance of this infrastructure, it's used for something else. If we are to go after those people, learn from where there is best performance in terms of this infrastructure, educate ourselves as communities not to vandalize infrastructure, I am sure we can turn things around.
Professor, we're going to have to leave the conversation there. Yeah, you are giving us a sense of hope, but as things stand, you know, I'm sure lots of people quite angry where they are sitting, particularly the residents of Buffalo City Municipality. Professor Khangwelo Musetsho is a principal environmental scientist at Naledi Environmental Consultants.